Every time I touch mic. Every time I touch mic.
Explode the sunlight here, gentlemen. You explode the universe.
Every time I touch mic. Every time I touch mic.
Explode the sunlight here, gentlemen. You explode the universe.
Step up, make your body rock. Gotta keep it jumping till you hit the top. So keep dancing all around the block. And when the morning comes, no, you don't stop.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back again to another best of one here over at Learning Fives. This show match is brought to you by your favorite casters, Denna and Jolly. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you today, Denna?
I'm well, thank you very much. So today we have a plat show match here between teams eBay and Best of Two. What are your thoughts on this matchup here? What do you think? Are you excited? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm always excited for these show matches or for these matches. Sorry. Looking at the bands, I didn't get a lot of time to do some research on these teams like I had the last game that I had casted. I do know Zoe is a big pick for many members of the team here. So it looks like they are prioritizing bands. Vladimir, I'm not sure. I didn't see him much on either of those, but very powerful champions being banned out from both sides.
Yeah. Considering that one of the players is called the Chatamir, I'm assuming is a targeted ban for him. But right off the bat, we have this matchup, Ilawi versus Malphite. What do you think on that?
I love Alawi and I want to favor her in this matchup, but it really all depends. We're looking at a little bit of the higher elo in this match. Most of what I've been seeing is a little bit of lower ranking. So I'm very excited. Actually, in particular, the jungle here, Warwick, obviously always a solid jungler. And Trundle has been very powerful right now. So you know what? At this point, with two picks on either side, I really can't go in favor of one team. Azir being picked now, so I might be leaning a little bit more towards the red side here with the Aurelia Azir pick. I know Aurelia did just get a bit of a nerf. She was slightly too bruiser for Riot the last patch. So on Wednesday, they did decrease, I know her passive on hit, her passive attack speed was increased, so a bit more of an aggressive champion that we'll hopefully be seeing in this match.
Yeah, definitely agree. And especially just based off already from the picks that we see from both sides, we can see that the red team here has a lot of melee engage. We have the Malphite ult, pretty much a free engage all the time. And then the damage followed up from the Trundle and the Aurelia are very in your face, as opposed to the Azir and the Alawi, who pretty much welcome this sort of in your face type damage. The Azir has its ult to shuffle them away, and the Alawi, well, if you run into the Alawi, her ult pretty much melts your entire team. So what do you think about then this bottom matchup, the backlines basically for both teams? We have this Kaisa Lulu versus this Swain Morgana.
And a bit of following that meta, but also trying to adapt to more of a standard ADC meta as well. How we saw in the past, Kaisa and Lulu are phenomenal together. I love Kaisa; she's incredibly powerful right now. Swain is great, but it really depends on how you use him and how this matchup turns out. Morgana is going to be a great support for him. And obviously, they're both going a bit of aggressive here. We've got the Ignite on both the Lulu and the Morgana and a teleport here potentially on the Swain. So heavy engage, lots of aggro down in this bottom lane. We can see that the red team wants to engage. They want to grab onto the enemy champions and not let go. So they want to roll over them early game, but we'll see if blue side to eBay can sustain that and get into a little bit of the later game, because I think it'll have a bit more potential with this matchup.
Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely. With the Kaisa late game and the Azir as well, they definitely have that late game power secured. And so to counteract that, what do you think that the red team should do? Where do you think that the Trundle should prioritize to essentially snowball and be able to roll over the enemy team?
So, I was considering at first, when I first saw the Swain and Morgana, that maybe a bit of focus on the bottom lane would be helpful, but I really don't think we're going to see him as much there. Azir and Aurelia, if Aurelia just tramples over Azir, he's not going to be able to pick up towards the late game. So I think we might see Trundle closer towards the top and the mid lanes, or even, a later engage, later ganks than we've been seeing in a lot of these recent matches. But I mean, as I mentioned, there is quite a bit of aggression here on the red side. We see Azir with an exhaust and Aurelia here with an ignite. So how do you think those summoner spells are going to work out for these teams?
Well, I think that the Azir exhaust is given, especially against all the in-your-face damage that the red team poses, the best of two team. With the Aurelia queuing onto you with the Malphite ults, all of it is very potentially damaging for the Azir. So the exhaust is a pretty safe choice to maybe tide over this early game damage and get him into the late game powerhouse that he is. Whereas the Aurelia Ignite, you have it versus Warwick for the 2v2. You have it as an additional sort of like kill pressure for these lanes. And what I want to see is the Aurelia roaming, so shoving in the Azir if she can, maybe pressuring a kill, and then potentially helping the top lane Alawi, or maybe roaming bottom, where the potent amount of CC from Irelia, Swain, and Morgana should be enough to secure a kill onto either of them. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, just
Okay, yeah.
agreeing with you
So
in that.
in that case, then for the blue side with the Warwick here, how do you want to see him protect his game, protect his team in the early side? Whereas we have the blue team going for late game. So where do you want a Warwick to be? How do you want him to basically move around the map and protect his team and secure that late game powerhouse that they are?
Well, he can take many different opportunities here. They can wait for the late game ganks, which may become detrimental to them if they do have a lot of pressure on all lanes. So I would assume a little bit of a safer start, but he can also dive right in and pressure the lanes towards the red side, therefore putting the red side into a little bit of a bind. That way he has a little bit more time to go back into his jungle, clean up some camps, and then re-enter lanes. But it does also really depend on how these lanes each individually work out. I'd mentioned that the bottom lane, I'm feeling early game in favor of Swain and Morgana. But, if it does get to the later game, if they're not able to keep that pressure, then Warwick's not going to have any presence down bottom. He's not going to need it until a little bit later on. He's fast. He's fun. So he's going to be in lane more than Trundle, I'm assuming. But I do think the Azir's going to need that extra help early game. So we're probably going to see Warwick kind of camping around the mid lane earlier game.
Absolutely. And with that, we're just going to hand over to a small spectator delay, and we will see you guys very soon. Don't touch those browsers.
And welcome back. We have two teams facing off here today. I am joined by Denna as our play-by-play caster. I am Lisa Jolly Malahas. So happy to be here. Denna, are you there?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, just had a little technical difficulty. How are you?
I am well. I'm very excited to be here in this match. And if you can remind me and the viewers really quickly the team names. Oh, great binding there.
Absolutely. Easy first blood. They're secured by Team Best of Two. And speaking of Team Best of Two, we have Zero to Hero on the top lane with the Malphite, Elucida with the Trundle in the jungle, Get Me Fed, Irelia mid, Duperito supported by Chavi Chav, Swain and Morgana respectively.
And on the other side, we have Team eBay in the top lane, EDR on Alawi, Twitch TV, it's Vale, on Warwick, the Chadmir, not on Vladimir, but on Azir, Panther here on Kaisa, and Panda on Lulu. And getting back into the game, we have more aggression.
They're still in this jungle, some more summoner spells forced out. So now Warwick and Kaisa both are down a flash, whereas all of Team Best of Two are up on theirs. So with this new information, how do you want to see them play around it? How do you want to see Elucida make some plays around these summoner spell deficiency?
Well, the two champions that you really want to have summoner spells on, or, two priorities for sure, would be your jungle and your ADC there. So they're going to have to play incredibly safe, particularly in the bot lane. So we might see a little more presence than I expected from that Warwick, but he doesn't have an easy out now. So if he does get caught out while trying to gank, if there is a counter engage or a counter gank there, it could potentially be detrimental and mean all three members are going down there in the bottom lane. So we'll see how they do play around it. Already a great start here from both teams, though.
Absolutely. Definitely favoring Team Best of Two here. Getting that Trundle off to a fast start basically allows him to pressure a lot more across that map, and a good start for the Snowball team that we mentioned in Champion Select.
And an assist there as well going over to every member. So they were all involved in that kill. We saw all 5 members running directly into blue team's jungle. So they were going for a kill. They were hoping to find that one member caught out, and they did. So this game is going very, very well, and exactly how they were planning it would to start.
Absolutely. And so looking at this matchup bot lane, we can see already that the Kaisa Lulu is pretty dominant versus this Sway Morgana. We just need to see a Dark Binding land, and then it could easily swing the other way. But looking at these starting items, the Kaisa's actually opted for a Doran's Shield as opposed to a pretty popular Doran's Ring. So maybe a bit more passive. And what do you think about that?
Most likely, I mean, that would be a smart move, in my opinion, especially based on the fact that now she doesn't have a summoner spell. Maybe a little preemptive there in knowing that they were going to fall behind earlier game. So safe play from them. She does have a Lulu with that polymorph. Luckily, a couple seconds there, potentially being able to escape a really aggressive situation from Team Best of Two. But we will see. And lots of damage going back and forth between here in the top lane, which I'm very excited to see. I was assuming Malphite would keep a little bit farther back and have less pressure from this Alawi, but she's
already this gank mid. Get Me Fed has to flash away, but it's Bale and Chadmir want to chase him down here. A very fast team, but Elucida here with the pillar wants to slow them down and will try to keep his teammates safe, but the speed up. There is a double stun, the ignite back out. It's Bale. It is turned around by Elucida and Get Me Fed. Chadmir left alone in the middle of 2 members here. Very low Get Me Fed, but a double kill for Elucida. A fantastic start for Team Best of Two.
That was phenomenal. And we did see a little bit as well during the loading screen, a bit of a differential in the the placements. So a little bit higher elo on side Best of Two. Hopefully not to make a huge change in this. There's an aggressive Morgana going
Chav here, walking up here, ignite onto proper Panda. There's a pillar as well, and there is a 1-for-1 trade. Panther kills Chavi Chav, and he's alone with 2 members and a big minion wave. They might look to make this dive. There is a root. There is no pullback, unfortunately, but it is at the end of the day a 1-for-1 for both teams.
And that's a lot of summoner spells down from Team Best of Two, but they were all aggressive and they were all able to capitalize on what they were used for. So yes, a few aggressive flashes in. Euclida on the Trundle was able to jump in, and it was very helpful. We've got double buffs now on him, so we're going to see a lot more of him in lane. Less, I guess more aggressive than I thought we were going to see. Warwick, we have yet to see show up in any lane. As I kind of mentioned, doesn't have flash down, still has a little bit of time left on that. So hopefully some response to these ganks.
Yeah, We saw that attempt mid lane, but quickly turned around by the 2v2 from LEC to Get Me Fed. And catapulting LEC on this Trundle incredibly far ahead already. Finished that Cinder Hulk at only 5 minutes, as opposed to its Bale, who's still sitting on some pretty small components. So with this lead, I hope to see LEC to make some even more proactive plays around the map and get his team further ahead. And speaking of which, it's already started here in the top lane. EDR in the middle of 2 members. He is pillared out. There's nowhere for him to go. Easy kill there. A 5th kill already for this Trundle.
That was a very bold move by EDR, staying that far forward. He did have the ward in, but knew that Elucida was farther on their side of the map. But yeah, 5-0-0. That is the confidence that you want in a jungle, especially this early game. You mentioned 5 minutes in, Cinder Hulk already down. This is not going to go well if Team eBay plays or continues to play aggressively without great vision. They need to lay down the wards. They need to know where the enemy jungle is, because if they don't, he's likely in the wings and going to do a lot of damage at that.
In the wings here in mid, but spotted out by the Chadamir, not much for him to do. And so speaking of this getting vision, where do you think Team eBay wants to go from here? Getting this vision, just basically turtle it out, or do you want to see them force some more plays and try and capitalize on where Elucida is not? What do you want to see them do here?
You know, if they have vision on Elucida in a different area, absolutely. They have the 1 kill for their team is on Kai'Sa. And now that Warwick's had a little bit of time in the jungle, he can hopefully do some more engages. Trundle has been everywhere they don't expect him to be, though. He is very, very quick, especially for a Trundle. We expect more speed and more roam coming out of the Warwick there. So now here, we might have even Trundle moving down towards the bottom lane for potentially another game.
And once again, a stun here in the mid lane, the Chadamir versus Get Me Fed. There is an ultimate as well. The W just to get some damage reduction. The exhaust comes out and stops that kill. And it looks like the bot lane did not result to anything as well. There's an ultimate here on the top, and Zero to Hero taking a lot of damage, has a flash away from the Ghost. Should be able to dodge these tentacles, but 1 slap is all that it takes. Taken very, very low. Looks like he will limp out of here. Get Me Fed here wants to go for a dive. There is no stun to shuffle away. Under tower, 2 shots. The ignite ticks, and he will finish that kill. A lot of action happening all over the map here. And it's Bale wants to get Me Fed. Will get him down. The passive is enough, and he will fall. Not enough damage reduction from that W.
Ultimate maybe not necessary in that, but he really did want to capitalize on the kill there, and not necessarily a great move from the Chadamir staying in lane after being so low. So risky plays from both sides, but we've got a pretty heavy lead now, about 2.4k in favor of Team Best of 2 at only about 8 minutes in, which is a pretty hefty lead this early in the game.
Yeah. And then they just picked up that dragon while that action was happening, and it was an ocean dragon, which favors them even more in this early game, giving them that regeneration. And so with that, what do you think, which lane do you think benefits most from that regeneration?
You know, at this point, it's really difficult to tell. I would say the bottom lane being the squishiest lane here, needing to back out and potentially dive back in without actually having to back towards their base. But, you know, we've also got the Azir here who can definitely benefit from it, being able to spam those moves. Riot recently changing the game so that the mid laners aren't quite as mana heavy, aren't able to spam those. So I think we will see some benefit in both lanes. I mean, a dragon benefits everyone in the least bit, at least.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so with this, it looks like the game is starting to slow down a little bit. There is some more vision placed around, which definitely favors Team eBay. They just want to turtle out this early game, as we talked about. And so to stop that, Get Me Fed wants to go in on the Chadamir. He does take a tower shot. The W comes out to reduce some damage, and it will just be a big chunk from both sides.
Dealt a great amount there. Oop, and
some CC missing here. The ultimate is popped by Dubrito. He wants to chase him down. He can proc, but they are out of range. A lot of action, and it looks like a dive here as well. There is a dash out, and the ultimate coming out of its Bale. There is a return ultimate from Get Me Fed, and he will get 1. He gets a second. 2 kills very easily for the Blade Dancer Get Me Fed.
Just barely outside of tower range there, so a fantastic move, and he did flash in and re-engage, but again under tower.
Yeah, and so this constant action just seems to be going so well for Team Best of 2. So far ahead on both the mid laner and the jungler, but we can see that the bot lane is also winning pretty hard. They're at approximately a 20 CS advantage to pressuring this tower. So overall, just a very well played game so far from Team Best of 2. And how do you want to see them continue it?
Well, we can take a look here at the CS. So we see top lane actually on Team eBay has a massive advantage here. Not a huge differential
Oh.
aside. Ooh,
Fight here. Both flashes come out of the ADC and the support, but Proper Panda here will fall after popping both Ignite and Flash. Still caught in that Morgana ultimate, but Yemi Fed here alone in the middle of back lines. There is a passive, and he will not be able to live. The stun comes out on his veil, and the team wants to follow up on it there. It's the Dark Band he misses, but they will continue on to Panther here. Elucida, there is a pillar, there is a pullback from Dude Burrito. The Killer Instinct has popped the Flash as well, dodges the Dark Binding, and he will survive. And then the other side.
So much aggression coming out from Team Best of Two here. They ran right past that first tower, up and around. They knew that they could go in. And
Unstoppable force here. There's a return ultimate from EDR, and he just slaps Zero to Hero. Just shuts him down, trying to stop that tower take, but in return for his life, he does manage to secure his team that first tower, so overall pretty good.
Yeah, that was a great move. We can see the items are relatively equal on that top side. We've got Malphite now able to pick up a few items here in response, get a little bit more armor from this Alawi in hopes that that same situation does not happen again. But tower number 1 for Team eBay going from that top side. So that is 1 apiece for either of these teams.
Yeah, but here the Alawi was yet to back. She purchased up a full Black Cleaver, so she's monstrously far ahead of this Malphite, pretty much doubling his CS, up pretty much half an item. And so to avoid that, it looks like Team Best of Two is actually going to swap up the lanes here. And so what do you think about this macro decision?
Well, so based on how many kills we've got, both Team eBay is actually doing a great job in sustaining themselves in CS, in keeping a hold of their summoner spells as long as they possibly can, in staying under tower and staying as safe as possible, aside really from this Warwick who has put himself into some sticky situations. So they are doing a great job in response to being this far behind early on. We've got a Rift Herald, now Shelly going over to Veil.
Looks like they want to fight this actually. Elucida and Chav here, 2v2 with the Proper Panda on the right side flank. The jungle fight is not a good spot for Team Best of Two as there isn't a Lowy. So she's pulled back. She has to flash away. It looks like the rest of the team just want to disengage there. And they will live to fight another day after picking up that Rift Herald.
That Lulu does help get the speed on to the Alawi, who was trying to make her way out of that, potentially being caught if it had not been for that support and the roam from the bottom lane there. Lots of damage coming up to this top tower in about 40 seconds now on the next dragon.
Oh, and looks like they're going for this mid tower as well. 4 members here, easy tower secured, and they will bring that tower lead 2-1 for Team Best of Two.
And if we look at the kill scores as well, 6-0-2 is this Trundle. That's a very, very scary place to be right now. He's got a Zeke's Herald on board, unfinished boots, which he doesn't even need. He is a slower champion at the moment. The CS lead, again, heavily in favor of this Alawi. Hopefully she can hold up for the rest of her team and do some damage onto that Malphite, who has not even been able to finish a single item.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this upcoming dragon, we see the placements of the champions. We have Alawi in the bot lane shoving this out. She does have teleport, and unfortunately the Kai'Sa's not able to join. So looks like they will just give over this dragon for free. And you're talking about this Alawi with the advantage. So how do you want to see them play around it? Do you want to see Alawi in a side lane and just split push and push her fighting lead that way? Or do you want to see your group and maybe force something into the strong enemy team?
I mean, I always want to see a team fight. I want to see some good equal team fights. And yes, maybe pushing a single lane on her own is helpful. But again, it's still at that point just the Alawi versus the Malphite. Dragon going over to red team, a Mountain Drake at that for them, picking up the scuttle there as well. But yeah, it is a great potential for Team eBay to utilize this Alawi, but she needs to back up the rest of her team as well. So they need that communication. If somebody on Team eBay gets jumped on, the Alawi has to be there to help back them up, help them peel away and get out. Even though this bottom lane is still maintaining its own. Kai'Sa at 2-0-0. That Lulu has, yes, died 3 times, only has 1 assist, but has gotten the polymorph, the speed boost, has thrown out some amazing shields as well. And we get to see her really get a great ult, which can prove a phenomenal team fight, potentially, if they get it on the Alawi while she's in the middle of the team, if we do see them come 5-5 head-to-head.
Yeah, something about that point about the Lulu. It's interesting to actually compare the supports here. Proper Panda does not actually have, I don't believe, his completed quest. So he's still at the Remnant of the Watchers, has not opened up that eye, and thus does not have the proper wards to set up anything, whereas Chavy Chav here has completed his quest. He does have the wards unlocked to him, and so this differential in the supports basically hurting the rest of their team, not allowing for the vision that the team eBay wants to have to basically prevent the rest of Team Best of Two from snowballing their lead.
Yeah, and we can see as well all of the control wards up towards the top lane, towards the river, near where that Rift Herald was. So lots of vision there. But yes, because you mentioned that, really nothing down towards that bottom lane. They've lost the tower. They've got the Alawi that's pushing it forward, and she would have to spend extra gold to pick up some of those control wards. So she knows she can at least put a little bit of pressure and get the vision down there. But they are focusing much heavier on the mid lane towards the top lane, likely in hopes to focus on those objectives.
It's Bale here, looking bottom lane, wants to get something on this Malphite, but in response, Team Best of Two sends 4 members up in the top and want to force this this tower, but the Rift Herald dropped in response. Looks like they're just going to trade towers. And as a team behind, definitely favors Team eBay here.
Yeah, and that gold differential I mentioned before, it was around, 2.5K, and that was only 7-8 minutes in the game. We're now creeping up on 16.5 minutes, and we're looking at about 5K here. So not a massive difference considering how far ahead we would think maybe that Team Best of Two would be at this point, having the early.
Looks like they want to force something. The ultimate pop from Benny Fed. He does manage to stun. It's Bale, but it's just too much. The flash ult from Zero to Hero, unstoppable force onto 2. There's Dubrito the follow as well. They're very low, but the slap from EDR does manage to get a double kill. Trades, I believe, 2 for 2 in that fight.
And as some might say, Worf would probably be what they are thinking there on Team eBay, because yes, they did go down, or they did have 2 members go down. They did get the double kill though on that Alawi, who did only have 1 kill there before. And so that extra pressure in that lane, being able to push the bottom lane, at least have one of those lanes pressured towards the red side, is very helpful for this team right now. That means that Team Best of Two is going to have to focus on pushing that bottom lane back in, and hopefully Team eBay can hold on to that first tower there in the bottom lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with this tower difference, it's still only at 3-2 in terms of towers taken. And so where do you want to see Team Best of Two go next? We talked about them being that early game team, that early game snowballing team with this very strong trundle. Where do you want to see them apply pressure? Where do you want to see them make plays and get themselves even farther ahead?
Well, I've liked where they've kept the pressure. Right now they have two dragons. They've been keeping heavy objective pressure, lots of wards around the Baron pit, the Herald pit, and onto the dragon as soon as it spawns. We've now got about 2 minutes on both of those, so we'll see if they maintain the pressure there, but keeping out the vision. I like the roam that they've got, but they do need to collapse as a 5-man team. You can tell they kind of want to pick out this Alawi, but they really can't 1v1 her. Not with especially the Malphite that they've got here. Even this Aurelia has tried and hasn't been capable. So we see now 4 in the mid lane, which I think is the best option. Put pressure on one lane, maybe send 1 member, Aurelia not a bad choice, up to push on a separate lane, and keep Trundle with the rest of the team to just mow down more kills.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with the 5 members grouped up here, looks like rather than the 4-1 split you were talking about, they're just going to go for 5 members here in the top lane, just force something. Zero to Hero with the threat of that unstoppable force, Malphite ultimate. Definitely a potent team fighting ability, but I don't think their siege is as strong.
Oh no, and especially as it's getting towards the later game. Once we hit over 20 minutes, we're going to see a lot more of the collective team fights between these two teams. For Team Best of Two, they feel like
onto the 2, they're engaging here. The Alawi ult is huge, and they get a couple, but they're not able to survive. She does fall in the end. Duperino in the backline here gets a huge eruption onto all of the team. Only Chadamir lives, as he wasn't with the rest, and a 5v4 goes in favor of Team Best of Two.
That was a lot of damage coming out from Team Best of Two. Aurelia picking up a bunch of those kills, which is going to put her at 5, 3, and 8, and that's just what they want. If they want to feed a lane right now, Aurelia is the place to be. Swain is doing what he needs to. There's some damage coming out on Chavy Chav, but not quite enough to push her away from this fight because it is still at the moment of 5v1. Now Lulu being spawned up, coming through, and Kaisa most likely going to try to jump in, but I think Team Best of Two making the smart move, backing off here. We have 5 seconds on Baron, 5 seconds now on the next dragon. So as I mentioned before, the objective focus that they have, they're likely going to back off here, but hopefully head towards them. We see a ping over towards that Drake, so possibly their next move here instead of a push towards the Baron.
Absolutely. When you're this far ahead, I feel like you can take both. You're not really forced to choose between one or the other. And so it's very smart to go for that dragon first, secure the easy objective, and then work your way up to that Baron. It doesn't hurt to get those free combat stats or the movement speed that's provided by this Cloud Dragon.
Yeah, and we do now have some pings coming out that the Team Best of Two is heading towards that Baron pit, which is a very smart move. At this point, like you mentioned, they're far enough ahead in the game. We're looking at, 8, almost 9K gold differential here. Team eBay forced to just clean up their own jungle, maybe throw some vision out. They've got one ward down there near the Dragon Pit, but Team Best of Two doesn't even need to make their way. Malphite maybe going to try to push this Alawi out of here, but a movement down from Baron. They have so much pressure, so much damage that they're dealing. They can really pick and choose, and they do have the mobility to head back to the objective. If that's really what they decide is best for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've talked a lot about Team Best of Two and what they could do to basically snowball themselves even farther ahead, which they've done pretty well. Talking with that gold lead you were talking about, but what do you want to see Team eBay do to basically get themselves back ahead? What do you want to see them play off of? Where do you want to see them go to bring themselves back?
Oh, it's a very tough position. We might have an engage here, though.
Yeah, a little fight here with EDR. He does get a lot of damage onto Zero to Hero, but it looks like just a little bit of wave clear.
So
They're
putting a lot of the pressure that they have in any of these lanes on this Alawi. She's done very, very well, knows how to play well.
Oh, under tower, taking a lot of damage. Do bring a Popsy ult. There's a Zayas as well, and unstoppable is he. EDR falls.
And a good engage. Lots of damage coming out from the Alawi. So she is trying to put on as much pressure as possible, but it's getting to the point where there's not a ton that she can do without backup from her team, especially with the response time that we're seeing from Team Best of Two. She tries to engage on one member, maybe the Malphite, maybe the Aurelia, and then somebody pops up from behind. Generally, the Swain has been all over this map and trying to back up that solo player from being taken down potentially by the Alawi. So they're working on the pressure from the Alawi, but they really need to start coming together as a team and playing it a little bit more safely, because this gold differential is creeping up on closer to 10K, and that's a really scary place to be under 25 minutes through the game. Now some pressure here, it looks like on Baron, doing some ward clear before they start the engage there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with this Alawi, you would rather see her group with the team force something around it, because you mentioned that the split push is simply not working due to the response time from Team Best of Two, right?
Yeah, that is what I'd like to see from her.
And then, do you think that they even win the 5v5 fight with the Alawi, the Azir, the Lulu? Do they have the potential for this miracle fight, and how do you want to see them set up for it?
They do have the potential, but only if they do it safely. If they catch someone out, if they manage to split the team apart, or if it's a full engage under their own tower where they can creep or they can stay back, they can give the enemy team some tower hits. And we can see them playing safely here. There's nothing they can do on this engage to Baron, and they're really just baiting them out.
Proper Panda here gets caught by that dark binding in the pillar, nowhere he can go. And that opens up the way for the Baron. EDR here is still in the bot lane, not able to come group with the rest of his team, and a free Baron over for Team Best of Two.
And you could tell that was a bait, absolutely. You saw that at least Team Best of Two, or Team eBay knows that we're going to likely engage on this Baron. So let's stick down a little bit lower towards the bushes, see if we can catch one of those dark bindings. And Chavy Chav has been doing a great job of getting the picks, and then the team able to follow it up from there. So fantastic move, maybe not even necessarily what I would have suggested, but it worked out incredibly well for them because they were able to bait out that single member of Team eBay.
Yeah. And with that pick, they get that Baron, but the trade in response is the Dragon for Team eBay. And so, not quite out of it yet. They still have basically grasping for scraps around the table at this game. And so, with this Baron buff, how do you want to see them approach? Do you want another 4-1 split? Would you rather have them just group up as 5 and brute force their way? What do you want to see Team Best of 2 do?
At this point, I think a brute force would probably work best for them. Again, unless Team eBay gets all 5 of them under their own tower and are able to keep them there and taking tower hits while not allowing Team eBay to take any damage, there's really not a lot that they can do here. Likely escaping back to their inhibitor towers, where they're a lot closer together. So we can see 4 members of Team eBay collective together here, and the 5th likely coming around as soon as possible. But yeah, lots of pressure here on this mid lane, which is a very smart move in my opinion. They have the Baron minions to push the top and bottom. They'll probably send somebody down to at least push it a little bit farther so they can get a little pressure towards the inhibitor, since we do have an open inhib top lane. That would probably be my best recommendation. They're doing well top lane.
The Dark Binding lands on EDR. It takes a lot of damage. It forces the ult out of the Lulu, actually. So pretty key ability cooldown there dropped. And just keep your eyes out for Zero to Hero here. He does have the flash. He does have this ult. Potential for a very big engage. And it looks like Dubrito actually backed and is TPing back to the bot lane. So another tower here looks like it'll fall. So advantage over for Team Best of 2. There is the engage, the ultimate onto its Veil. He's suppressed under tower. He managed to did get the W out. EDR with a huge allowed up when he does fall. A supple force only onto the Azir, but that is enough. In the backline, Swain kills the Kaisa. And a full 4-man wipe. Only its Veil is left. And 0 fall for Team Best of 2. And from here, it might as well be over. It looks like it's all she wrote. There's not much that can happen. Its Veil has to put on the hero pants, but I really don't see what he could do here against all 5 members.
Aurelia jumped under tower for that engage and took how many tower shots? Her health bar didn't even go down. So this team is so tanky. They're able to deal the damage they need to and survive what they need to as well. Nexus now going down in favor of Team Best of 2.
Yeah, a beautiful gameplay from both teams. Team Best of 2 there with the early game composition they drafted. Strong engage. Elusina off to a fantastic start, and they managed to just snowball the game from there. There was glimmers of hope there for Team eBay, but simply not able to capitalize, and unfortunately did lose out in the end.
Just a bit too early, or too much pressure early game on them, unfortunately. But yes, they did play well. Both teams played very, very well. That was a great game to watch and cast. Not incredibly one-sided, because we saw some amazing plays from both teams. But if I'm not mistaken, we will be back soon with game number 2 here.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we have another show match. These 2 teams will actually rematch later today, approximately at 5 p.m. Eastern time. But we do have another show match lined up, so don't touch those browsers, and we will be right back.
The fuck is that?